go ahead and collect up all of your stuff. If you want to make a little clear space and grab a mat, we're doing a core yoga flow today, so you just need yourself and a water bottle if you would like one. And if you want to play your own music at this time, you can do so. And I'm just going to start by reading the COVID response. So we're just about at time here, so I'm going to read to you what I need to before we get started. Okay, in response to COVID-19, PSP is offering virtual fitness classes to Canadian Armed Force members. By using social media platforms, the virtual fitness classes tailored to the Canadian Armed Force members become accessible to all. Participants who are not Canadian Armed Force members recognize and acknowledge that their age, health status, and physical fitness levels are unknown, and it is entirely up to each individual to assess their ability to participate in this class. Since it is preferable to consult your physician before beginning any exercise program, we invite all participants who are not Canadian Armed Force members to consult the Get Active Questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document. If you experience any pain or difficulty during the exercises presented, it is recommended that you stop and consult your healthcare provider. If a CAF member sustains an injury during the video, please remember to fill out the CF98 form. Okay, so my name is Katie Kennedy. I'm from 19 Wing Comox, so out here on the West Coast for those of you that might be watching from other places in Canada. I'm a fitness instructor here at the base, and today we're doing a yoga core practice. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. So the intention of this class is to work into all parts of the core, so the front of the body, the back of the body, stability through the shoulders, and stability through the hips. So we'll be doing some strengthening and some lengthening as well. So just thinking about working on strength and flexibility within the same practice. Okay, so I think I've touched on all the points, and we'll go ahead and get started. So just coming over to your nice clear space. And we're just gonna actually start on our backs today. So coming onto your back with your palms facing up, shoulders drawn back and down. And we're just gonna take a moment to place our arms out at a nice 45-degree angle from our shoulders. Allow our toes to turn out, knees to turn out, and the hips to turn out. So we're coming into Savasana. We're just taking a moment to close our eyes. Come into a nice long breath. Allow the breath to travel all the way down into the base of the lungs, so you actually get the whole abdominal area starting to move, the back ribs and the side ribs starting to move as well. And as you breathe and drop into your body, just setting a little intention for the class today. And that might be just to feel into this whole powerhouse energy center in the body. So our guts, they play into how we feel. So how our gut biome's functioning at a physical level plays into how much serotonin we have going up to our brain. It actually plays into how our emotions are. And it also plays into our immune system. So eating really healthy is important. Drinking lots of water, getting enough sleep. And this will be just like a nice little wake up for that whole area physically. We're also going to work into the back, the shoulders, and the hips. So 2 more nice long deep breaths here. And taking a nice big inhale, go ahead and extend your arms over top of your head. We're going to bring our feet together and point our toes far, far away from our fingers. So we're coming to a nice long body stretch, and then just dropping your rib cage down to the ground by activating your abdominals. So you're just pulling your belly button down to the floor. From here, we're going to come into a big side stretch. So we're walking our shoulders and our hands off to the left side of the mat, and then we're also going to walk our feet off to the left side. You might hook your right heel over top of the left, coming into a nice big side stretch. You look like a banana lying on the ground. Breathing into your side body. And then working your way back to the center, just unhooking that heel, coming back to the center. Go ahead and walk your shoulders and your arms and hands off to the other side. Walk your heels over to the right side, and you might hook your left heel over top of the right. Taking some nice big deep breaths into the left side body. Maybe feel a little tighter space, just focusing on that space and breathing into it, so you're creating some more space from the inside to the outside. Gently working back to the center, coming back to that nice long body stretch once again, pointing the fingers away from the toes, dropping the belly button down towards the ground. And then from here, gently drawing the knees up towards the chest. We're going to work the knees into a little circle pattern, so we're working into the lower back. Gently moving one way and the other way. And then bring our legs up towards the sky and our arms up towards the sky. We're taking a moment to bend our knees at a nice 90-degree angle. From here, we're going to just establish some contact with our lower back on the floor. So we're pulling our belly button down towards the ground. We're keeping the same amount of pressure, pushing down towards the floor with our low back. So keeping that pressure, nice inhale. And then as you exhale, we're coming down, we're dropping the heel down and the opposite arm down. A nice inhale back up, and then exhale, dropping the heel down, dropping the arm down. Don't pull the other leg up too far. Just make sure that the hip stays at a nice right angle. So we're exhaling on the way down, we're pressing pressure down with our low back, and we're inhaling on the way up. So really nice and slow. Keep that same amount of pressure in the low back. This is the hard part right here. Go slowly. So keeping lots of awareness as to how much your belly button's pulling down towards the floor. We're working our transverse abdominals. This is the deepest abdominal layer. It's the one that's really responsible for keeping our lower back nice and safe as we move through different movements. It acts as a tiny little girdle in our body, so almost like an internal weight belt like you would in the gym. So you should be starting to feel it by now. We're going to do one more either side, nice and slow. So exhale, 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 inhale, inhale, inhale. Press the low back towards the floor. Exhale, 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 inhale, inhale, inhale. Then coming back to that nice long body stretch. So you're just pointing your toes, stretching your fingertips far, far away. I'm just going to see maybe who's joining in there. Hi, Thiele. Hi, Josh. Okay, coming into our next exercise. We're going to stretch our legs away from our body, but with our heels off the ground. So this requires some good core strength. We're going to bring our fingertips in behind our ears. We're going to inhale here, and then we're going to exhale, turn up to the side, and bring our shoulder towards the opposite knee. So we're exhaling there. Heels stay low to the floor. Elbows stay really nice and wide. So this is a yogic bicycle. Try to go as slow as possible. So heels are just sliding above the floor. We're breathing out as we rotate to the side. We're working into the obliques here. Keeping a nice space between the chin and the chest. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good job. Nice big long body stretch. Fingertips And toes far, far away from each other. And then from here, we're going to work a little bit into the upper abdominals and those transverse abdominals. So we're working into the rectus abdominis, which runs this way. Bring your fingertips in behind your ears, and we're just going to press the balls of the feet up towards the sky. We're going to flare the toes. It's common for people just to bring their legs too far forward, but we're going to keep that nice right angle at the hip. So this is a 4-part exercise. We're going to lift up for 1, shoulder blades lift off the ground. Lift the seat for 2, everything up for 3, press the balls of the feet towards the sky, and then coming down for 4. So shoulders up, seat up, everything up, and then relaxing back down. Lifting the shoulders, the seat, everything up, and relax back down. So shoulders lift, seat lifts, everything lifts, and down. Shoulders, seat, everything up, and then back down. Shoulders up, seat up, everything up. That's the tough part. And then back down. Here we go. Last 2. Shoulders, seat, everything up, and back down. And last one. Shoulders, seat, everything up, and come on back down. Good job. Coming back to a nice long body stretch. So those abs should be waking up a little bit, which is great. Go ahead and bring your arms out to the side, feet onto the mat, and bring your feet out to the edges of the mat. Go ahead and come into some nice big windshield wiper legs. We're going to stretch into the hips a little bit here, gently moving left and right. So part of the core is to keep lots of flexibility through our spine so we can have nice range of motion and good posture. So we're just going to work into the hips a little bit here by bringing your knee to the inside, your fists to the outside of the mat. We're going to bring the heel across and just gently come into a stretch there. So we're working into the outer hip, a little bit of a twist through the spine. Nice inhale, coming back up and bringing your foot to the outer edge of your mat. Go ahead and bring your other heel across so you're not pulling, just the weight of that leg should be enough. A little stretch into the outer hip. Nice inhale, coming all the way back up. Go ahead and bring both feet up to the sky. We're going to bring our hands to the outsides of our feet or our ankles or our knees. Coming into happy baby, we're just going to work into the hamstrings and the hips a little bit. Go ahead and gently move left and right, taking each knee down towards the ground. So we're just working into the hips, the low back, hamstrings, and the inner thighs. If you can, just pointing the tailbone towards the top of the mat so more of your back comes into contact with the floor. Gently releasing your legs together. We're going to bring our feet up to the side and come on to all fours. Okay, go ahead and place your fingertips nice and wide. Each knee is under each hip. Take a nice big inhale. Lift your chin, lift your tail. Slide your shoulders onto your back. We're coming into cow posture. Exhale, tuck your chin, tuck your tail, coming into cat. You might rock back and forth slightly. So nice big inhale. Lifting your chin, lifting your tail, rolling your shoulders back. Exhale, tuck your chin, tuck your tail. Nice big inhale. Lift and lengthen. Exhale, flexing through the spine, curling all the way up. From here, coming back to a good tabletop position. So nice and strong, we're drawing the belly button up towards the spine. So we're trying to hollow through the abdominals. Now we're going to lift the opposite hand and the opposite foot. So keeping the hips really nice and level, we're stretching that arm and that leg out. And then exhaling on the way down. So just a really small lift off the floor, and then lengthening, hips stay really nice and level. Exhale on the way down. So inhale, lengthen your opposite arm and leg. Exhale, bring the hand and knee down. Inhale, lengthen and lift. exhale on the way down. So just like that, feeling into the glutes and the lower back. Try to press through the ball of the foot. So that back foot is actually nice and strong in a nice strong position, rather than just being all floppy back there. Coming to here and hold for a few breaths, or you can reach back to catch your foot. Allow your shoulder to roll onto your back. We're going to press our foot into our hand. We're going to stretch through the abdominals in the front, the anterior deltoid, the front of the shoulder, and through the hip flexor or the iliopsoas. We've got our opposite arm, opposite foot. We're lifting our foot up towards the sky, and I'm pushing my whole body away from the mat. A nice inhale here, and exhale down. Switching to the other side, so choosing to lengthen and stay right here and breathe, or reaching back to catch your foot. Roll your shoulder onto your back, press your whole body away from the mat, and lift your foot up towards the sky by pressing your foot into your hands. Neck just stays nice and neutral by looking at the top edge of your mat. Nice inhale here, exhale on the way down. Good job. We're going to walk our hands forward and allow the chest to come down towards the mat. So we're coming into a big stretch through the lats, the wide outside parts of the back. Hips are right over top of the knees. You might bring your forehead down to the floor. And then keeping your right arm extended, go ahead and roll your right ear onto your arm. Place your hips off to the left. So we're getting a deeper stretch through one side. And bring your other hand forward and bring our hips over to the right side of the mat. Lie our ear onto the left arm. Nice inhale, coming back up. Go ahead and place your fingertips as wide as possible. We're coming up to a plank position. So we're lifting our knees off the ground. We're just going to work on pressing down into the mat, so we're lifting our body away from the mat. From here, we're going to come into a side plank. So you can do side plank with one foot in front of the other foot. Arm lifts up to the sky. If you want a little bit more challenge, you could stack your feet on top of each other, or you might lift a leg away from the other leg. So we're just breathing right here. Make sure that you've got your shoulder right over top of your wrist. So it's really nice and strong, stable position through the shoulder. You can always drop your knees down and just press your hips forward. So lots of options here. We've got about 15 more seconds to go. So just choosing whichever is better for you. Good job. And breathing. Good job. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can place that arm down. We're just going to roll right up to the other side. I'm just going to flip around so I can still see the screen. So from here, we're just rolling onto one side. So either one foot forward and one foot back, or stacking foot over top of foot. You're pressing your whole body away from the mat. So you're pushing all the way up, nice and strong through the shoulders. Drawing the belly button in. You can take a leg away if you like. Good job. 10 seconds to go. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nicely done. So just lowering down. Go ahead and bring your knees down to the mat. We're going to come into a little hip sway, left and right. So allowing your hip to drop right over the long edge of the mat. This one can be quite interesting for people who have tight iliotibial bands. So if you're tight through the outside of your hip, you might be feeling that a little bit. And you might roll just slightly forward or slightly backwards in there. Just moving around organically a little bit. And then bringing your whole body forward. So from here, we're just going to take our elbows underneath our shoulders, roll our shoulders onto our back, and take the back of our head gently towards the back wall. Go ahead and feel into the neck by gently moving the chin left and right. So creating some nice length through the back of the neck by tipping the chin forward. Through the sides of the neck by gently just tipping the chin to the outside. Keeping the shoulders drawn back and down. We're bringing the elbows out to the side. From here, we're going to bring our hands down to the mat. And then we're going to take a nice big inhale. We're going to lift up using our erector spine. We're going to draw our shoulders onto our back and reach down towards our feet. So you can stay right here, or you might lift the legs away from the mat as well. So this is some nice work through the lower back, glutes, really the whole posterior chain. Keeping the neck in a nice and neutral position by just slightly tucking the chin and looking at the edge of your mat. Holding here and breathing. And gently lowering down. Go ahead and bring your forehead onto your hands. We're stacking hands over top of hands. Toes to the outside. Wiggle around through your hips. And then relaxing with your head down on your hands for a few breaths here. Try to feel into your lower belly and your lower back with your breath. Feeling your whole ribcage and the base of your lungs. And then gently bring your right hand forward. We're going to straighten up our legs. We're going to reach back to catch our left foot. We're bringing the heel in towards our seat for a good quad stretch. So the way we breathe and how our core functions really plays with each other as well. So really try to use the whole lungs as you breathe each day. Letting your breath go right down into the base of the lungs, into the belly. Go ahead and press your hip down into the ground. So I'm doing a little bit of a pelvic tilt here, getting a good quad stretch. And then switching to the other side. We're stretching out our quads so we can come into the next posture well. And quads are just such an awesome muscle group to stretch because they're really big and they work hard for us every day. So try to bring your heel right to your glute. Think of tipping your hip down towards your ground. So you're doing a little bit of a pelvic tilt. You're tucking your tail under. So here's your next choice. You can come back to stretching out the quad on the other side, or you can reach back to catch both feet. Taking a moment to roll your shoulders onto your back here so you're lifting up slightly. Then you're going to spread the toes and press the feet into the hands coming up into bow posture or Dhanurasana. So this is lots of work for the whole posterior chain. We're pressing our feet into our hands. We're opening through the chest, the front of the shoulders. Try to hug your inner thighs towards each other a little bit so that your knees are staying in line with your hips. Keep breathing. Nice big inhale and exhale, coming all the way back down. And then coming back to that nice relaxing position. So hands over top of hands, toes to the outside, wiggle around through the hips, and allow your forehead to drop down. So you're getting a little bit of room through the whole pelvis. Taking some nice deep breaths here. And bringing the hands underneath the shoulders. Go ahead and push all the way back to tabletop. We're coming into child's posture or balasana next. We're bringing our big toes together. And I'm taking my knees a little bit wider than my chest. Go ahead and sink your hips back towards your heels. Push your whole mat forward. Gently move left and right. So just feeling your way into the shape of the posture. Bringing your forehead down to the mat. Taking some nice deep breaths here. This is a really nice gentle hip opener. And glancing forward, go ahead and walk your hands off to the left side of the mat. Spider walk your fingers forward so you're creating some nice length through the right side. Gently drop your forehead down. Taking some big deep breaths into the right side. And glancing forward, walking hand over top of hand, all the way over to the right side. Spider walk your fingers forward, gain some length. Drop your hips back, breathing into the left side body. And walking your way back to the center, we're gonna bring our whole body forward and work up into Cobra posture or Bhujangasana. We're placing our hands right beside our chest, so not underneath our shoulders, but actually back a little bit. Then taking a nice inhale, go ahead and come up vertebrae by vertebrae. You might stop right here today and draw your shoulders back. That might be quite enough. If not, you can come all the way up and draw your shoulders backwards and down at the top. So we're trying to move from here to here. And we're taking the back of the head gently towards the back of the mat. So we're tucking the chin in just slightly. Then you might just feel into your hips a little bit. So you might choose to gently move left and right. So you might allow your hips to move a little bit. You might allow your shoulders, your head and neck to move a little bit as well. So we're opening up the front of our body, opening up through the hip flexors and through our rectus abdominis. Good. Coming back to center and just coming all the way back down, just as you went in. We're then going to bring our elbows underneath our shoulders, tucking the toes under. Go ahead and lift up. So we're coming into a good plank position from the elbows. From here, we're just going to lift one foot and the other foot. So we're keeping our hips really nice and still. Make sure your shoulders are stacked over top of your elbows here. Just a small lift off the ground, almost like a really slow flutter kick. Keep drawing up through the belly button. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nicely done. Lowering down, we're going to do another nice big cobra. Inhale up. Shoulders drop back away from the ears. Chin tucks in just slightly, and then you might wiggle around through the hips and through the shoulders. Coming back down nice and slowly. Go ahead and bring the hands back under the shoulders, pushing up to that good tabletop position. And we're just going to do a little bit of wrist work. So we've been spending some time on our wrists. So just take a moment to tip our fingers towards our legs and just gently lean back. So we're stretching out the wrist flexors here. Gently move left and right. Fingers are spread nice and wide. And place your hands the other way. This one's just a little bit more intense. You might want to have your hands closer to your knees. We're just pressing into all parts of our hand. We're keeping our elbows as straight as possible. So we're stretching through front of the wrists. Anytime you're spending time on your hands, making sure you also stretch the wrists out. You might just place your hands in a bunch of different positions on the ground. Good, bringing your hands back onto the mat. So fingers are spread as wide as possible. We're coming up to down facing dog. Go ahead and tuck your toes under, drop your hips back towards your heels, forehead close to the floor. Nice big inhale, lift up. Go ahead and walk your heels up and down. Press the whole mat forward. And we're really hollowing through the belly. So we're drawing the belly button in and up. There's that hollowness that happens. And the organs, they travel towards our chest. And then from here, we're just going to go for a nice big walk. So feet a little bit closer together. They're about hip width apart back there. Nice inhale up, and then exhale down. So we're pressing the mat forward with our hands. We're stabilizing through the shoulders. Everybody's body is so different, so everybody's posture ends up looking a little bit different, but make sure you're pressing your shoulders back towards your feet as you walk your legs slowly up on an inhale, down on an exhale. Working
into the glutes. Last 2 and 1. Good job. From here, we're walking our toes all the way into our hands. We're going to stop here in forward fold. You might bend your knees so you can just rest your chest on your thighs. Go ahead and move left and right. So just a nice stretch through the low back. Big inhale. Both arms wide to the sky. Exhale, we're going to come into a good squat position. So we're sending our seat back. Inhale, you might brush the mat, arms wide to the sky. Exhale, sink back and down. Keeping the same amount of weight in each foot. Inhale, arms wide. Exhale on the way down. Then adding a little twist from the bottom up towards the top. Just looking out to the side of the room as we come up. Lots of breath. Inhale up. Good. Exhale down. Inhale up. And then exhale, bring your hands back to heart center. We're going to work through sun salutation next. Inhale, both arms wide to the sky. Exhale, folding forward. Uttanasana. Head and neck is nice and loose. Inhale into halfway lift, draw your shoulders back. Exhale, folding forward, stepping back to plank position. Moving from your knees or from your feet. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, elbows tight to the sides. Inhale to low or high cobra, draw your shoulders back. Exhale, back to down facing dog. So I'm pressing the whole mat forward. I might bend through my knees, then extend the legs. Inhale, the left leg up to the sky. Exhale, step your left foot through. Allow your hips to soften down. Here we'll just play with our weight front and back. It might take you a few steps to bring your foot forward, and that's okay. Think of lifting your chest, allowing your hips to soften down. Pushing off the back foot. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, both arms wide to the sky, stretching all the way up. Exhale the hands back to heart center. Inhale, arms wide to the sky. Exhale, folding forward. Head and neck loose. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward, stepping back to plank position. Inhale, shift forward from the knees or the feet. Exhale, chaturanga, low push-up. Inhale, draw your shoulders back. Exhale, back to down facing dog. Pressing the mat forward with your hands. Pulling the mat back with your feet. You might bend your knees to shift a little bit more weight back. Inhale, the right leg up to the sky. Exhale, step your right foot through the hands. Allow your hips to soften down towards the ground. Go ahead and play with your weight front and back. Pushing off your back foot. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, both arms wide to the sky. Stretch all the way up. Exhale the hands back down towards the heart. Good job. Adding on. Inhale, arms wide to the sky. Exhale, folding forward. So we're going to hold this forward fold here, and we're drawing up through the belly button. So you're creating some nice hollowness there. Go ahead and cross your right hand over top of your calf, your ankle, or your foot. Inhale, the left arm wide to the side. So we're in a forward fold with a twist. We're drawing in and up through the belly button. Inhale here. Exhale, back down. Go ahead and switching to the other side. Inhale up, draw your shoulder onto your back. And exhale down. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward. Stepping back to plank position. From here, go ahead and drop your knees down to the ground. Come all the way up. And take your right foot forward. So we're in a little low lunge. Bring both hips forward. We're squaring up our hips. Take your upper body away from that front leg. So we're just stretching into ELES-SOAS. Fine, take both arms up to the sky. We're gonna come into some cactus plant arms today. So we're working into some good stability through the shoulders. We're pressing back as we slide up on the inhale. On the exhale, coming back down. So inhale up. Think of scissoring your legs a little bit. So you're bringing the back hip forward, front hip back. Inhaling on the way up. Exhaling on the way down. Just like you're sliding your arms up and down that back wall. Good job. One more time. Inhale up. Good. And exhale down. Bringing your hands down to the ground. You're lining up the fingers and the toes. Lift the chest. You can be up here on the fingertips, or you might be up on a little block. You're placing one hand on the outside and one hand on the inside. Go ahead and tuck your back toes under. Pressing back to down facing dog. A nice big inhale. Go ahead and bring the other leg up towards the sky. So left leg lifts. Exhale, stepping all the way through. Let your hips sink down and back. Bringing your right hand underneath your head. Inhale the left arm up to the sky. You can always drop your back knee here. And exhale the elbow down towards the big toe. So inhale, expand, lift up. Exhale, on the way down. Inhale, up. We're coming to a big twist. Exhale, down. 2 more to go. Inhale, up. Good. Exhale, down. One more time. Inhale, up. Good. And exhale, down. Go ahead and bring your hands to the center. Drop your back knee. Toe heel your foot to the outside of the mat so your toes are just sticking off the mat. Hand comes to the inside of the knee. We're going to guide our knee out. So we're in winged dragon posture. Inhale the top shoulder back. Exhale the top shoulder forward. So coming to a nice big twist, working into the hips here. Gently pressing the knee away from the body. Good job. Bring your foot back onto the mat. Go ahead and tuck your back toes under, doing that nice big low lunge. From here, we're going to come all the way up. So you're coming up to a nice standing position. Make sure you tip that back hip forward. We're going to bring both arms up towards the sky and roll our shoulders onto our back. So we're in a nice big lunge position, upper body nice and tall. Bring both arms up to the side. Go ahead and lengthen out your right arm over top of that front leg. Create some good length through your torso. Hook your elbow across. Bring your hands together. Inhale, lift, and then exhale and twist. So our twisting postures are beautiful for our digestive system. They help to speed it up. They're also amazing for all the little spinal nerves that come out of our spine. And bring the hands down to the ground. Go ahead and lift that back leg up. So we're on our fingertips here and our front foot. So nice inhale here. Exhale, we're going to draw our knee into our chest. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, draw the knee in. So we're gaining some strength and stability through the hips. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, draw that knee in. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Nice flat back. Exhale, curl the knee in. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, curl the knee in. Last 2. Good. And last one. And stepping both feet together. Bring your hands onto your shins, and we're just going to gently move left and right. So sometimes there's a bit of hip stuff stuck. Gently moving left and right. We're just going to curl all the way back up, drawing the shoulders backwards and down at the top. I'm just going to switch sides so I can see the screen a little bit better. We're going to come into the other side. So starting at the top of your mat, nice big inhale, both arms wide to the sky. Exhale, folding forwards. Okay, so loosen the forward fold to the shoulders, head and neck. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward, stepping back to plank position. From here, we're just going to gently drop the knees down to the ground. and come all the way up. Go ahead and take a big step forward with your left foot. Bring both hips forward, square the hips up a little bit, and then extend the arms up towards the sky. We're coming into cactus plant. Arms, draw the belly button in, scissors through the hips. Inhale, lift up, exhale on the way down. So we're sliding our arms all the way up and down, pretend wall. While we're stretching through the iliopsoas, through the hip flexor, where so many people get really, really tight. Working on some good stability through the shoulders. Good job. One more big deep breath in. And a nice long breath out. Bringing the hands to the inside. Go ahead and bring both hips forward. We're lifting through the chest here. You might come up onto the fingertips or onto a block. Just working on our hips coming forward. Couple nice big deep breaths there. And then bringing your hand to the outside and inside of your foot. Go ahead and tuck your toes under. Pressing back to down facing dog. Remembering to bend through the knees. Press your shoulders towards your feet. Good. Taking a nice big inhale. Go ahead and bring the right leg up to the sky. Exhale, stepping all the way through into low lunge. So you might just play front and back. Go ahead and bring your left hand underneath your shoulder. Inhale the right arm wide to the sky. Let your hips come down and forward. Exhale the elbow down towards the big toe. Inhale, arm reaches up. Exhale, elbow down towards the big toe. So we're working on some good hip mobility, which plays into how our core functions so much. Good job. Two more big deep breaths. So all the way down into the base of the lungs. Working on those good breathing patterns. One more big deep breath in. And an even longer breath out. Placing your hands on the inside. Go ahead and drop your back knee, toe heel your foot to the outer edge of the mat. Bring your hand to the inside of your knee, and we're bringing our hips forward, turning our knee out. Inhale your top shoulder back. Exhale your top shoulder forward. Just feeling into the sides of the body. Coming into that nice twist, opening through the chest. And then working your foot back onto the mat so that it's nice and straight. Go ahead and bring your hand to the outside. We're going to tuck our toes under. And then coming all the way up, so nice and stable. Bring your back hip forward. You might bend your back knee slightly. Go ahead and bring both arms up to the sky. Bend through your front knee. Allow your shoulders to sink back and down. You might just press through the back heel. Find your balance there. So coming into that nice alignment, bringing the arms out to the side. Go ahead and extend the left arm forward. Hooking your elbow across, bring both hands together. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, coming into a good twist. So I'm pressing both hands together, bringing my elbow up towards the sky, letting my hips come down and forward. A few nice long breaths here, feeling into the tight spaces. And gently releasing, the hands come down towards the ground. From here, we're going to take a little step in and bring our hands forward. Go ahead and lengthen out the back leg. Nice inhale here. Flat back, lift the chest. Exhale, tuck in, roll in, bring the knee towards the forehead. Inhale, lengthen, lift the chest, flat back. Exhale, roll the knee in, draw in through the belly button. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, pull up through the belly button, check everything in. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, tuck everything in. Inhale, up. Press through the ball of the foot. Keep your foot nice and active back there. It can be flexed or pointed or in between. Just make sure it's nice and strong. Good job. Last two. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, draw up through the belly button and tuck. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale, draw up through the belly button. Go ahead and place both feet together, hands onto the shins, and just move around a little bit, left and right. So just feel into the hips. Move the hips left and right. You might bring your fingertips down towards the floor, just whatever's working well for your body. Nice big inhale. Go ahead and sweep your arms all the way back up. Good. Exhale, hands back to heart center. Go ahead and come into a wide straddle position on your mat. So you're going to turn your toes. So your toes are just facing forward ever so slightly. So I'm lining up the outer edges of my feet with my mat, and then just bringing your hands to the hip creases. So we're going to gently take our seat back, keep our back really, really flat, and bring our left hand right underneath our nose. Nice big inhale. Go ahead and bring your right arm wide to the sky. Exhale, bringing that hand down. Nice big inhale, arm wide to the sky. Nice flat back. Exhale, bringing that hand down. Go ahead and walk your fingertips in towards your toes. Then bend the elbows any amount. You might widen the legs just a little bit and bring some weight into the balls of the feet here. So really nice stretch through the hamstrings. You're lifting your tail up towards the sky. You're placing one hand on one thigh, one hand on the other thigh. Inhale, coming all the way back up. Go ahead and turn your right foot out so that your heel is in line with your instep. And then we're going to just turn our foot to face at a 45-degree angle. Go ahead and float the arms up, draw your shoulders back, coming into a nice strong warrior two. And we're lifting our insteps up off the mat. We're pressing into the big toe joint, the little toe joint in the center of the heel. Go ahead and bend through the front knee. Try to engage the thighs. Lift up through the pelvic floor. Draw in through the belly button. Go ahead and place your front head to face up. Inhale, up and over. Coming into a nice big reverse warrior. Inhale, back up. Hands on the hips. Go ahead and move your hips left and right. Getting ready for triangle. Keeping your hip towards the back of the mat. Float your arms up, start to extend towards the front, bring the bottom arm down and the top arm up. Try to press your hips forward. Inhale all the way back up, reverse triangle. Inhale, coming back to warrior two. From here, we're going to bring our elbow onto our thigh, sweep the mat with our backhand, coming into extended side angle. Nice long, long line from the fingertips all the way through that heel. Good. And then taking that top hand onto your hip, go ahead and bring your right hand to the outside of your foot. We're going to take a step in, and we're just going to bring our hands slightly forward of that foot. I'm just going to move more back into the frame of the camera. When you're ready, we're going to push off that back foot, so you're coming into what's called Ardha Chandrasana, or half moon posture. I'm pressing through my heel, staying activated through the core so I can hold my balance. You can keep your hand here, or you might extend your arm up towards the sky. You might choose to look down at the mat, and then you can take the bottom hand away. So you're balancing a little bit more, requires a little bit of lift through the belly button to keep the core nice and stable. Now bring your hand back onto your hip, just coming all the way back up, just as you went in. Good job. We're going to turn our toes to face the other side. Go ahead and bend energetically through the left knee. Slide your shoulders back. You're angling your back foot at about a 45-degree angle. And then hugging in with the inner thigh. So there's some action happening through the legs, drawing in and up through the pelvic floor, feeling into the lines of your fingertips to fingertips. Nice strong warrior two, taking that front knee out. Go ahead and place your back hand onto your back thigh. Inhale, up and over, reverse warrior, feeling a nice stretch through the side body. Inhale, back up to triangle. Bring your hands to your hips. Go ahead and move your hips left and right. So we're getting ready to create a little bit of space through that front hamstring and inner thigh. Keeping your hip to the back of the mat, float your arms up, start to extend to the front. Go ahead and bring your bottom arm down, top arm up. So we're pressing that top shoulder back, pressing your hips forward slightly, feeling into our feet, lifting through the arches. Nice big reverse triangle, nice and strong through the legs. Nice long legs and long arms. Inhale, back up. Coming back to your warrior two position, go ahead and sweep the mat with your hand, coming into a nice long extended side angle. So this arm here is just resting on the thigh. Abdominals are drawn in nice and tight. Making a nice long line from your fingertips all the way through down to your heel. Go ahead and place your top hand onto your hip. I'm just going to move this way a little bit. Go ahead and place your hand just forward of your foot and out to the side at a 45-degree angle. Draw in and up through the belly button, push off your back foot, coming into Ardha Chandrasana. So we're pressing through that heel, engaging through the glutes, and then extending that top arm if you like. So just lifting the arch up through the foot so you've got good balance all the way from your foot, which is the foundation. And then you might take that bottom hand away. Try to stay lifted through the belly button. And just placing that hand down again, placing your top hand onto your hip, and try to come back up just as you went in. Really nice. Okay, we're going to toe heel our feet together, and then we're coming down onto the mat. So you can come on down onto the mat into a seated position. We're going to work into a little static boat pose. So we're going to bring our feet down to the mat. Our knees are at a nice right angle. We're going to place our hands out behind us. So we're going to need to draw in and up through the belly button for this one. So we're bringing our feet up, and you might stay right here today with the support of your hands on your mat. Think of lifting through the chest so you still have this nice neutral spine. The other way you can come into it is just by leaning back, and that might be enough right there, drawing your shoulders onto the back and holding the tops of the knees today. So just kind of feel into how you're doing before you take the feet away. So from here, we're going to bring our palms to face up, and then you might extend your legs up towards the sky. So just trying to stay on the front of your seat if at all possible. Breathing. We're going to widen across the shoulders. Gently bringing the feet down to the ground and coming back up. Nice job. Okay, so we're going to come into a little stretch next. Go ahead and bring your left foot in and your right foot out. We're going to turn to face that leg, and we're going to bring the opposite arm across. Use your back hand to sit you up nice and tall. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, come on forward. So here we're going to activate the quad so that we can then stretch into the hamstring and into the low back on the opposite side. Nice inhale, coming back up. From here, we're coming into a nice open twist. So go ahead and bring your knee just in front of your foot. You might have to slide your foot forward, bringing both hands around to the opposite side. Inhale, lift and lengthen the spine. Exhale, coming into a nice twist, looking over top of your shoulder. Try to work that back shoulder back. Nice inhale, coming back to the front. We're going to switch to the other side. So just tucking your other foot in, bringing the opposite arm across, using your back hand to sit you up nice and tall. Nice inhale and lift here. Exhale, coming forward. So we're going to activate the quadricep. Stretching through the hamstring and the low back on the other side. Nice big inhale coming up. Just bringing that foot forward slightly. Go ahead and bring your knee in line with the foot. Hands to the opposite side. Inhale, lift. Exhale, coming into a nice twist. Drawing your shoulder back. And coming back to the front. Go ahead and bring both legs up the side. So both legs nice and wide. Just take a moment to Press the legs back slightly. Go ahead and inhale your left arm up to the sky. Gently side bend over to the right. You might bring that arm across. We're trying to bring the bottom shoulder forward and the top shoulder back. Nice big inhale up and over. Go ahead and lengthen out the other side. Inhale, reach the right arm up. Exhale, coming over. Hand can be on the outside, which helps to roll the hips forward. Or you might bring your shoulder to the inside. Nice big inhale coming up. Using your hands in the back to sit you up nice and tall. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, just gently walk yourself forward any amount. Just gently move left and right. So we're going to feel into our spine a little bit here. Go ahead and allow your chin to drop down towards your chest. A little stretch through the neck. And you might be right here just working on gently rolling the hip bowl forward. So everybody's body is different, and just honoring wherever your body is at today. So being really kind. Nice inhale, go ahead and come on all the way back up. Sweep both legs together. Coming into a little quad stretch next. Bringing your heel back behind you. Go ahead and tip both hips under. So we're coming into a little pelvic tilt. You can choose to stay right here and breathe, or you might lie back, bringing your elbows down to the ground. You might choose to lie all the way back. Nice inhale coming up. Go ahead and switch to the other side, bringing the other heel back behind you. Coming into little pelvic tilt. Choosing to stay on your hands, coming to your elbows, or you might lie all the way back, stretching out that quad. Good job. Coming back up again and lying all the way down onto your back. So we're doing a little bit of bridging next. This is a nice way to come into the last part of our class. Make sure your fingertips just touch your heels, and then bring the hands down to the mat. So we're drawing our belly button down. We're activating those transverse abdominals again. We're going to peel up, so we're lifting through our seat. We're pressing down into the mat. Go ahead and walk your hands down towards your heels. Draw your shoulder blades together. So we're lifting our hips all the way up as high as possible, pulling in through the belly button. We're pressing into the heels here. If you like, you can press one foot up to the sky. Gently lower it back down. Try not to drop your hips. Lift the other foot up to the sky. Using your glutes, gently pressing that foot back down to the ground. And gently rolling all the way back down. Vertebrae by vertebrae. Coming into a nice big hamstring stretch here. Extend your leg up towards the sky. You might hold around your thigh or your calf, ankle, or your big toes. From here, we're going to cross our ankle over top of our knee. Reach through that space, pulling that leg up. You might move a little bit left and a little bit right. You can also press your knee out with your hand. Try to keep this foot active. From here, bringing both arms out to the side, we're going to bring our foot to the other edge of the mat and come into a nice little spinal twist. From here, you can lengthen both legs if you'd like to. Look over top of the opposite shoulder. Just coming into a nice big twist through the T-spine, working into the top of the hip. You might bring your opposite arm over top of your knee. You can also reach back for your opposite foot. A little deeper twist. Gently releasing. Go ahead and give that knee a big hug in towards your chest. Roll your ankle around a few times. We're going to do the same on the other side. So nice big hamstring stretch. One side might be a little bit different than the other side. Try to keep your knee fairly straight. bringing your ankle over top of your knee. Go ahead and reach for that space. You're making the number 4. Making sure you flex your foot. So keeping your foot active. You might press your knee away from the body as you pull up, or you can move a little bit left and a little bit right through your low back. Feeling a little bit of a glute stretch there. And then bringing both arms out to the side. Drop your heel to the opposite side of the mat so you can turn onto your hip. Coming into a nice spinal twist and taking your eyes away from that top knee. Lengthen both legs out if you like. Drawing your shoulders down onto the mat. Or you might bring your opposite arm across. Pick up your opposite foot and bring both knees far, far away from each other. And gently releasing, go ahead and give your knee a nice big encouraging hug in towards the chest. Roll your ankle around a few times and just take a moment to be really thankful for all the beautiful things your body does do for you. Okay, so we're just at time now, so just rolling up from wherever you are, and just want to say thank you so much for participating, or maybe just for watching a few pieces and encouraging me to do this. So thank you very much. Thank you, Steve, Chris, Josh, and Thiele. So have a really beautiful day, everyone. I hope you enjoyed working into your core and gaining both some strength and flexibility. So just wishing each of you a beautiful day. Thank you for coming out to practice.